Plant your feet up flat on the floor and either close your eyes or focus steadily on an object. Take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Slowly release it. Continue to do so as we relax into opening our mind to spirit. As you breathe in love and breathe out negativity. Relax and breathe. You may imagine your special place to go during this time. This could be a favorite place such as a garden, flowers, a forest, etc. For me, I like to think of floating in a kayak on a calm river or lake. That's my good meditation time. Wherever you imagine yourself, just relax and listen to your inner voice, which is God speaking to you. Think about the things in life that you're grateful for. We all have many opportunities to give thanks for what we have. It's sometimes a good thing to also be grateful for the lessons learned in the hard times. We don't always realize that there are great lessons to be learned during your rough times. As we adjust to the peacefulness, I'd like to have a few minutes of silence with just the quiet music in the background. Sometimes in that silence we receive messages that are intended for our soul. Sometimes you may not notice anything, or will experience something profound later in the day, and you'll know it was God speaking to you. Let's just take another minute or so to listen to that inner voice. In all things, give thanks. The scripture invites us up to give thanks in the midst of all things. It does not ask us to give thanks for all things. Gratitude does not necessitate that we ignore, bypass, trivialize, or engage irritants. Now, as the music starts to fade, please wiggle your fingers and toes. Be aware of your seat and people around you. When you're comfortable, open your eyes and return to this space as we say our thoughts and prayers.
Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. And now it's in the Oper.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Annie Oper, and I've been around for a while, and I love this church. My topic today is gratitude and thankfulness. And since I'm usually the one who's first one to speak on the gratitude section, I thought that was appropriate for a topic. There's a Unity booklet named The True Spirit of Gratitude. And Gratitude, the Spiritual Key. It notes gratitude may be one of the simplest spiritual practices we can employ. We're often advised to keep a gratitude journal or make a short gratitude list at bedtime. We're taught that gratitude opens the way for our good, and it's all good advice. And I happen to have a habit of making to-do lists, and I do them on my computer. I have several spreadsheets over and over from all my to-do lists. And I label them with priorities, what's first, what's second, and everything. And when I first wake up in the morning, I go to my to-do list. And I note that meditation is always first thing on it. But actually, reading my to-do list is the first thing on it. Get my coffee, then meditate. But, and I do a list of what I'm grateful for every day. And I love doing that because it makes me really appreciate even bad times. And then last thing at night is always a good time to review your day and to review what you're thankful for just for that day. That booklet continues with, the gratitude can be a deeper, richer spiritual experience than simply counting our blessings. Gratitude is possible in any circumstances. It can serve as a doorway to spirit even when we're sick, afraid, or grieving. It elevates our consciousness and puts us in the flow of positive energy that is divine life. When I go about my daily schedule, I'm very aware of things that happen around me. I try to be pleasant and considerate to people, and people have told me I'm a friendly person. And I believe that's because I am so grateful for everything that I have. I've gone through so many rough times, as most people do, but I have had people criticize me for always looking for the best in people. In fact, a friend of mine got mad at me and didn't speak to me for a couple of years because you always look for the best in people. And I'm like, I think that's a good thing, you know? I don't see what's wrong with that. Well, when I first came to Unity about 40 years ago, I was here for an Al-Anon meeting, and my husband at the time was here for an AA meeting. And I saw along the walls and all over bulletin boards with positive sayings on the bulletin boards. And I noticed for a yoga class and all these positive things. And I was brought up in a very traditional, very, very strict Christian church where I had to attend 3 times at least a week until I was 18 years old. And I thought that if I ever decided to go to church again, which I didn't ever plan on doing, but I would try here because this was positive and I loved it. And I really wanted to try yoga too, which I actually kind of did for a while. In the meantime, at the church on London Road, I noticed that a friend of ours who was in the AA group with my husband, Grateful Jim, and some of you know him. Grateful Jim was from AA and went to Unity, and he invited us to attend. And we came to our first Unity service shortly after he invited us, and I just felt like I was home. I felt like, oh, okay, this is where I belong. This isn't like a churchy church that's going to really criticize you all the time and all of that. I just felt so grateful, and I'll always be grateful to Jim and his wife, Laura, a wonderful example. Community teaches grace, and that grace, that one. So that's that. Robbie? No. Everything, is that the right one? 580? Yes. Give thanks in all circumstances, and everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. Gratitude, therefore, can be experienced and claimed even in adversity. I can be grateful in all circumstances. I've had my share of health issues over the years, starting with when I was a child. I was a chunky child, and when my mother died when I was 10, I was quite overweight by the time I was 12 years old, which is when my dad remarried. And my stepmother, who was very thin, made a lot of negative comments about my weight, and she constantly was baking delicious desserts. I mean, constantly, and then criticizing me if I ate them. I wrote a letter to Ann Landers. I was 12 years old. I wrote a letter to Ann Landers at that time and about it, and she wrote me back, or her assistant did, or somebody did. Somebody wrote me back and told me to ask my stepmother to take me to a doctor for a safe diet. And I showed my stepmother the letter, and she was so impressed that I had done that, and she would never have thought of doing something like that. And she did. She made a doctor's appointment right away. And at my physical, the doctor found albumin in my kidneys, so he couldn't do the weight loss diet, but I had to go on a salt-free diet. But if you've ever had to be on a salt-free diet, I mean totally free of salt, that means like no hot dogs, no, nothing with salt. And I lost the weight without having to go on a weight loss diet. And it cured my albumin problem. So I was very grateful and thankful to Ann Landers and wrote to her about the outcome as well. Anyway, I didn't deal with the underlying issues at that time. I just dealt with the food. And I continued to go from my high school years between being anorexic at points and being overweight at points. And also in high school, I did attempt suicide. And it was like, there was some really rough times. So we fast forward to meeting my first husband in Washington, D.C., where I kind of snuck off to, I went there on vacation and decided I loved it, got a job offer, and they said, when can you come? And I said 2 weeks, and I just up and went. Got home, told my parents I'm moving to Washington, D.C., and they're like, what? And I did. And I started with my new job there, and I was a very obese person at that time. And the relationship continued with the man I met there, and I moved to Iran to be with him. He had to go back for his father's inheritance, and tried to figure out the family property and all of that. And then he got stuck in the Iranian army, so he couldn't leave. So I went there, and we got married in Iran. And 2 kids later, I lost weight again in an unhealthy way. But I did eat a lot of fruit in Iran and walked a lot too. But mostly it was an unhealthy way. Lots of popcorn. We divorced after we came back. we'd been back for a while, and we were married for, I think, 9 years. And then we divorced, and I went through a wild time, and but I had lost my weight. I was thin when we came back, and after I got divorced, I met my second husband, John, who was an alcoholic, and I regained all my weight within a year, I believe, plus more. And I had kept it off for like 7 years at that time. So I didn't have a lot of gratitude at that point. Getting in an OA program, an Overeaters Anonymous program, and then the Al-Anon program really helped me a lot, because I thought I was going to Al-Anon to figure out how to leave my husband, and didn't realize that they talk about working on yourself, not on, you're not going to correct them, you're not going to change them, you're going to correct yourself. But he did go to treatment on his own, decided on his own, and he was sober for like 20 years. So anyway, and that's when my second husband and I started in Unity. And I finally went back to being grateful. I did appreciate everything I had and took several classes. I was on the committee to bring several speakers to our church on Lennon Road. These included Wayne Dyer, who was awesome. He was there twice, and I got to have coffee with him and stuff too. It also included Dennis Waitley, Les Brown, Deepak Chopra, and I'm sure several others that I can't even think of. And a lady named Marlene Keller was from Church of Today, and she taught a class on "You Can If You Think You Can." And it was a great class, and I really benefited a lot from it, and I'm still grateful for her influence. And about the same time, I discovered the Louise Hay book, "It Can Heal Your Life." I think this is my 5th copy of this book, and it's still really well worn, and it's got lots of pages marked, and learned a lot about affirmations. And I started putting affirmations all over the house to remind me to say them. I didn't want to forget, do your affirmations. I had lists of them all over the house, hanging on the mirrors and all of that kind of stuff. And I chose the affirmations from her book that were appropriate for me, and I created some of my own. And my kids were about middle school then, and they made fun of them. They made fun of me for using them, and they thought it was so silly. But I continued to use them, and they really helped me. And later in life, my daughter wrote me several letters saying how nice it was to grow up with all that positivity, no matter what the circumstances. She learned to appreciate gratitude as well. And she appreciated me. How nice is it to have your grown kids tell you, you did something right, it was great. And I've been through a lot of tough times financially, particularly after my second divorce. But now I can appreciate and be grateful for all that I learned through adversity. And I'm happier now than I ever have been. And I live alone with my dog Sophie in a little house. I'm retired, but work part-time here at the church office and part-time as a bartender. And I like doing it. I like being around people, and it's a fun job. And I'm so thankful that I am able with Social Security and part-time jobs. I'm able to pay my bills and live life okay, and get some little wants, not huge wants, but little wants, not just needs. But thankfulness is just so very important. Can we click on the next slide, Robbie, so I don't mess it up? Giving thanks is a practice that transcends the mere act of saying things. It is a fundamental spiritual principle that connects us with the divine and invites us to reflect on the abundance that surrounds us. That's also from the Unity booklet, True Spirit of Gratitude. I found that being grateful and giving thanks has prospered me financially. I have enough money coming in to pay my bills. I already told you that. And this has taken me years to achieve. I've been divorced from my second husband for 20-some years. And so it's taken me a long time to finally get here. And the classes that Brian has, I mean, I've been around Unity a long time, but the classes that Brian has have really clicked stuff in me. You know, it's really, they're really good classes. If you haven't taken one, you've got to do it because they're awesome. No matter what he's teaching, it's really good. And it's helped me to know that God is my source. I don't have to depend on, I mean, I was off work for 2 months just recently from a car accident in a fall, and just getting back to work now. But still, I mean, somebody gave me a benefit party, which covered my bills for the time I was off work. It was like, it's all good. I was so worried because I was going to be off work, and I'm like, I'm going to get behind on everything. I didn't. I'm like, okay, God is my source. It's not, you know, just a paycheck. But it all comes from that small inner voice that is God in me. And sometimes, you know, you hear a voice in your head, and you might not recognize what it is, but as you go on through the day, you say, oh, that's what God was trying to tell me, you know. It's getting easier now to recognize when it is God's voice and when it's just my own ego or something else. I have, click one more slide, please, Robbie. And Catherine Ponder has written, forgiveness is all powerful. Forgiveness heals all ills. And Brian and all the other students on Zoom or in person in the classes have taught me so much in the years he's been in Flint. And I give thanks for them and him every day. And praise God, it's time for another solo. Kirk, I'm really glad that you're here. And he's also 50. All right,
Thank you, Annie.
I got through it.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm really happy to be here. And my brother called me last week, and my sister-in-law's had cancer for about 10 years. And he told me about a beautiful talk they had that.
It's okay.
That she was ready to just let go and let God because the struggle was getting too heavy for her. So she hasn't been eating for probably about 5 days, and he asked me to pray for him. Said what a beautiful talk they had. So I would like to prayerfully honor her and lift her up with this song. So that's Canada. God bless her. Shelter of the Lord, who abide in his shadow for a while. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock, in whom I trust, and he will raise you up on eagle's wings. Bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the shelter you, and famine will bring you no fear. Under his wings your refuge, his faithfulness your shield. And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his